Did you know? 2 big Metal Gear experiences came out this year, and I would not blame you if you already forgot about one and don't know a thing about the other.
Someone somewhere must have made a pact with an evil deity, because Konami actually managed to put out something cool. But it still fits with their current priorities. The most elaborate and impressive Metal Gear Solid experience released in years is not a video game at all. Those who have wandered around the Kamachuro neighborhood in the Yakuza games might be well aware that it's modeled after Kabukicho in Tokyo, a planned theatrical district that turned into a nightlife district, making it the modern home of high-end interactive theatrical experiences such as Destroy a Top-Secret Weapon Metal Gear, the awkwardly translated name of a collaboration between a 3-story entertainment venue called the Tokyo Mystery Circus, a high-end escape room production company called Scrap, and Konami, though you won't find many stickers of their logo stamped around the set. And after reading a few Google-translated sources on the brains behind this project, it's looking like most credit here should probably be given to Scrap and their hotshot producer on this project, Takayuki Yoshida, who's used his gaming fandom to previously bring Dragon Quest to life for 2 escape room events before making the first official Metal Gear one.
And it's hard for me to fully explain just how appreciative I am of the effort that went into this thing. I'm dealing with the surreal shock of seeing one of my all-time favorite video games being recreated in real life, and I am also just very humbled by the time and dedication that obviously went into making this whole thing. At any given moment when setting this whole thing up, they wouldn't have just had to visually design this place as a Metal Gear Solid level, because it is a game of some sort, but they would have also had to put some effort into costuming, into prop design, into mobile app development, and most importantly into employee training for employee actors who walk, talk, and bark and spot according to video game rules instead of real-life logic. So as much of a novelty as it all is, it also feels like a very serious tribute made by Metal Gear Solid fans for Metal Gear Solid fans. And all of that left a hell of an overwhelming impression. To put it bluntly, it was cool as hell. On the way out, me and my friend Patrick, we were just beaming. Video games suck.
Video games suck ass.
VR games suck.
Video games
This
suck
is
ass.
the real deal.
Yeah.
They're real people who act like AI guards who go through the same exact routine every single day. Like, by the matter of the second. There's a 40-second evasion countdown timer they project on the wall that the guard has a routine for.
You have to go into the locker.
So, okay, it's a shame that most fans won't get to experience this thing, so I'm going to try to help you live through it vicariously through the series-appropriate prototyping medium of Legos. After all, cameras aren't allowed in escape rooms for good reason, and I didn't want to risk getting kicked out. Yeah, it seems like Japanese language media have the privilege to take pictures and do interviews while my requests were met with radio silence, so let's just pretend I have better footage.
Where do I start? Well, to start, you make a reservation for a party of 1, 2, or 3 people, and that can already begin things off on a very pricey note. 4,800 yen, which is about $44, is what it costs to get me and Patrick inside, which gives you 15 minutes to solve their escape room puzzles and sneak past their guard actors, and if you go over 15 minutes, it's 800 yen, which is gonna be 1,600 for the 2 of us, to continue, which buys you 10 more minutes. And we did that 3 times because we were bad. Yeah, about $90 of the Super Bunny Hop Company budget went into this place for just an hour, and that's really expensive. But it does make sense in some contexts for some tourists and some locals, which I will get into later.
You show up with your reservation ticket and are given a quote-unquote sneaking suit, a 4 to 5 pound legit-ass flak jacket riddled with laser tag sensors that the guards shoot with some kind of invisible light. That is, if they spot you by Metal Gear Solid 2 rules. That is, you're allowed to peek, but if your torso is fully exposed within the traditional 45-degree Metal Gear Solid video game vision cone, you are spotted. You'll hear something like, "Sukuga!" while you scurry off to your hiding spot as 90 seconds are subtracted from your total, and after the initial shout, the guard will just continue along their merry way as if they never saw a thing. Warning! A miniskirt is too sexy for the mission. Pants are available for rent! Please don't use cardboard boxes as a table. Just in general.
Another one of the rules they made sure to clarify is that close quarters combat, even the basics, is not allowed.
And again, I want to stress just how much of an eye for series authenticity they have here. The mostly female staff, or the shift we were at least, were dressed as guards wearing gray urban BDUs with face masks and famous prop guns just like in MGS1. And the humor is there. Jokes are thrown into the codex, pin-up magazines can be found in the scenery, there's even some dog tag collecting you gotta do in one room where the evasion phase countdown timer HUD from Metal Gear Solid 1 is projected onto a wall as a guard goes through a search and clear routine. You're given a tablet with an MGS1 codec screen that delivers flavor text, hints, and mission objectives. Holding that tablet close to rations can add more time to your total, and you're also expected to hold it close to some computers and keypads to unlock rooms and trigger hacking minigames and such. The main room of the facility is patrolled by a single guard who robotically repeats the same predictable pattern. That repetition gives away their position, as do strategically placed lights that cast strategically placed shadows, as do loud clicky shoes, as do ample spots for visibility. MGS2 begins with levels that celebrate the functionality of a first-person mode that can let you peek, so there are lots of peepholes and eye slots built into the crate clutter of the real-life escape room that you are meant to peek at guards through. And regardless of that being two-way visibility, they will not count it as spotting you through those holes. Human-sized lockers, even with girly posters inside, are free to sneak into with eye holes placed at eye level, and yes, you can hide under some provided cardboard boxes. Even if your shoes are poking out, you are still considered invisible. Though, us giant Baka Gaijin sure as hell weren't gonna fit in there.
You have to go into the locker.
And you see the locker from your own perspective.
You can see this daughter and mother going into a box. It's fucking great.
We couldn't fit in the boxes. Good thing they had the lockers. We were worried about that at first, but we were able to do those. It was hilarious playing this at the same time as a group of tiny Japanese girls going through it separately who were way better at handling the language barrier and at actually hiding themselves in the scenery, which is important.
At one point, we were given an almost true to the game H&K SOCOM air cannon prop with which to threaten a tiny Japanese girl into giving us a keycard before a laser trap microtransaction room that us fat white people really could not fit through without subtracting a lot of time from that total.
Force him through. Force him. Break it. Break it. And at some point, maybe before, maybe after, maybe even during the laser room, someone is not who they say they are. Something is not what it appears to be. There is actually a giant revelatory late-game plot twist that gets you backtracking through the same rooms again from different angles, with different challenges, with different contexts, that keeps things fresh despite the small, tight, contained level design, just like in the games. Yo, screw video games, screw VR games, screw tabletop games. This feels like some kind of new frontier. This feels like something that should change my perspective on the places interactive entertainment can go and the things it can do in the future. I mean, how impressive is a Fox Engine remake of Metal Gear Solid 1 gonna be if there is a real-life remake of MGS1 in the world at the same time? A lot of the appeal of this, and a lot of the surrealness came from the sensation of realizing that I was playing by video game rules, but with my entire real-life body. I was actually having flashbacks to VR horror games, where you're oftentimes using your head and your neck to peek above cover, and then duck behind when enemies turn their head to look at you. Except, in there, you're not getting down on all fours and crawling like a baby around crates where there are real guard actors patrolling around the crate at the same time as you two time your movements up to just narrowly avoid each other. I think I was actually most impressed that I was able to tell what was going on and get some kind of sense of spatial awareness, even from my own first-person point of view, thanks to all those cleverly hidden visual and audio cues. It really does amount to a kind of real-life game design. One in which mechanics and visual entities are placed in a way that teases them and builds them up, like in level design. In that first room, there are lockers and boxes that you can use, but you don't need to use them until a few rooms later. And there's also kind of an exploitive quarter-munching mechanic going on in that laser trap room, which is placed deep into the story where you feel invested past the point of no return. But the moments where the lines were getting the blurriest, and my heart was beating the hardest, and my face was smiling the most were the moments where I was inside a locker. That's when I simply could not believe what I was seeing.
This actually is what it looks like. What a fake video game character in a fake video game is seeing with their fake eyes is what your actual face is seeing in real life when you're inside of one of those lockers. And there's something that needs to be said of this kind of real-life game feel, of how there's a real satisfying urgency and then a real satisfying relief to hammering in a door code with the satisfying tactile feel to the keypad, or how clever it feels to slink into a blind spot somewhere in the crates where you can review old codec texts while hearing a guard's shoes walk past you. But then again, all that authenticity and production value comes at a cost, and while I wouldn't recommend planning an entire Japan trip just for this thing, I totally and completely would recommend using it as an excuse to finally go. You got 2 months to save up. Start now.
Warning, Super Bunny Hub LLC does not endorse enduring bankruptcy, allegations, foreclosures, insolvency, dissolution, or criminal behavior in order to afford expensive overseas trips one cannot afford. Please consult cheaper and more meaningful sources of happiness in your life before taking expensive overseas trips one cannot afford. Thank you.
As expensive as it is, the price tag is relative when you're just throwing another $50 to $90 into the hundreds of dollars of travel costs. But at first thought, that price seemingly doesn't make any sense for locals spending just one fun night out. This kind of entertainment wouldn't make as much sense in the economy of American automobile cities versus Japanese train cities, where the millions of people traveling by foot in and out of those stations are all carrying cash. Credit cards have not yet replaced pockets full of paper bills and coins, and thus brick-and-mortar retail stores are still going strong. High-priced theatrical nightlife experiences like this are not uncommon in Tokyo, at least, where a strictly quiet, cramped, and crowded home life, plus cheap and efficient public transportation through the city, means that spending time at home at night where your neighbors are trying to sleep is not the preferred way to enjoy time with a group of friends, or even as a couple out on a date night. And that's how a lot of mainstream non-gaming foot traffic gets funneled in to support these places. The Japanese economy is one in which it is simply easier to spend lots of disposable entertainment dollars while out and about rather than while at home on a computer. This Metal Gear attraction is priced for people in groups of 1 to 3, and compare my glowing review of this thing to Scrap's attempt at breaking out in the West with a Zelda-themed escape room that opened up in New England cities that, thanks to a reliance on cheap paper puzzles and larger group sizes, kinda gave it some mixed to poor reviews. Destroy a top-secret weapon Metal Gear has more of a home field advantage, and it's not because of the shaky misconception that everyone in Japan is more of a gamer than everyone in the West. Even though that is like a little bit kind of true. It's more that their economy, their infrastructure, and cultural aspects like their home life have created conditions that better support these kinds of businesses. In fact, there's actually quite a bit of competition when it comes to transmuting media properties into real-life interactive theater. Scrap doesn't just specialize in doing this with other anime and video game franchises, but a more famous example is the Resident Evil The Real haunted house shooting gallery kind of thing that has periodically opened and closed over the years at Universal Studios Osaka. And believe it or not, the Metal Gear Solid flavoring has been done before in at least 2 other attractions. The tactical espionage-themed Desperation Fortress at the Fuji-Q theme park at Mount Fuji, and the clearly inspired Inspire that is a 1-minute walk away from the Metal Gear Solid room in Tokyo.
Contact our agents in Japan.
I still can't believe how close everything is to each other there, and how well everything just executes on their intended goals, and how high the price tags are to pay for that level of quality. I don't know if this will ever catch on in the West, but if this same attraction shows up again in Japan, as ashamed of it as I am to say it, it'd make a great reason to go.